The nightmare finally ended. One Punch Man Season 3 just concluded, and it actually went out on a decent note. The final episode of Season 3 was one of the better ones of the season, which isn't saying a lot. That's like saying your most recent fart was the least stinky. Not to say that it was like an all-around bad episode or something, but it was such a horrible season that even like a decent moment just feels very sad still. Unfortunately, this season was a wash like 6 episodes ago. It was just dead, and there was nothing they could do to save it. They couldn't get the defibrillator out and shock it back to life or anything with a great episode. Not that a great episode ever came, but with the Saitama versus Orochi fight and Flashy Flash fight, those two were definitely the best moments of Season 3, and they do show that the animation team here does have the capability of delivering quality at least the same level as Season 2, but due to whatever unfathomable degeneracy and greed was happening behind the scenes with Bandai, where they refused to give the team any real time or money to flesh it out and deliver something of high quality, we were left with this fucking hemorrhoid of a season. And they're threatening to release a part 2. So there's an official announcement, as far as I can tell, an official announcement. Maybe this is all like a big out-of-season April Fool's joke, who's really to say at this point, where they're announcing a Season 3 Part 2. Now, it's slated to come out in 2027, which means that should be 2 years of being able to cook this season, which is significantly longer than reportedly the team had to work on Season 3 Part 1. From everything I've read, even though it took 6 years between 2 and 3, the actual animation didn't really have all that long to bake. So that gives me a small glimmer of hope that maybe Part 2 will be a significant improvement and get back to what JC Staff was able to deliver with Season 2 at least. That being said, the official poster that was posted for it is literally the exact same one that they made for Season 3 Part 1 2 years ago. They just flipped the PNGs around. If you could have seen my face when I saw that poster, I was sporting the biggest frown you've ever seen. Not even the Grinch could find a way to look that miserable when I saw that. Because that's... You can't really come up with a good excuse there other than they didn't feel like making a new poster. They wanted to do the bare minimum. You can't even blame that on, like, budget or like a time constraints or something to just reuse the same image from over 2 years ago and just flip the characters around. That's Jiminy Christmas. Holy Toledo. That's rough. Heavens to Betsy. That is already putting Part 2 in a pretty sour spot that they couldn't even be bothered to make like a new poster for it. But again, with 2 years here, 2 years of playtime, hopefully it can be an improvement from what we just experienced here with Part 1. Season 3 was an atrocity. It was an affront to God when it comes to animation. But not just animation, because everything was so rushed and so crunched, everything suffered, even outside of animation. So like the pacing didn't work. There were tons of editing mistakes out the wazoo. Characters would sometimes just grow titties or sometimes like lose or gain fingers. Like all kinds of like crazy wacky shit was going on. And then like the humor would fall flat because it was edited so poorly and cut from like the joke away from the punchline then back to the punchline. It was just a complete disaster. So while the animation did look like a PowerPoint and it's the main thing people criticize and spit on, it had even more problems than just that. The whole season was pretty embarrassing to what the source material had provided. Again, I don't want to just keep, barking up this tree, but I cannot express enough just how good the One Punch Man series is. The manga is extraordinary. And to see an adaptation like this that is clearly rushed and half-baked, it just sucks. And it's why it's become such like a big talking point for a lot of people. Because people cherish Season 1. And even though Season 2 wasn't as good as Season 1, in hindsight, we didn't know how good we had it then, I guess. Because this has just been terrible. Absolutely terrible. And even if you don't know anything about One Punch Man, just watching Season 3 is not enjoyable. There's not a whole lot to like about it. And again, I want to strongly reiterate this for the millionth time. I don't put the blame solely on the shoulders of JC's staff for this catastrophe of a season. I think with the couple of decent moments shown here, it proves that there are passionate, talented animators working at that studio. I think the problem comes from a higher level. The fucking husks, the soulless corporate zombies in suits at Bandai that are so against putting any amount of actual money and elbow grease into this property, and reportedly only giving them like 6 months worth of production to shit out season 3 here. It seems like they're committed to delivering the cheapest, laziest, and most bare bones anime adaptation just to cash in on the goodwill of the One Punch Man name. I don't understand why. And I honestly feel like even though the release date is 2027 for part 2, I wouldn't be surprised to learn that they don't start production until like January 2027 and it comes out in like October of 2027. It really wouldn't even have me raise an eyebrow. That seems to be Bandai's MO right now. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if they fucking put a padlock on the JC Studios office doors, preventing them from even thinking about working on One Punch Man Season 3 Part 2 until they permit them to do so 6 months before it's supposed to air. They just seem fully committed to delivering trash with the One Punch Man name. Bandai is. It's just extremely disappointing because it doesn't have to be this way. It's pretty inexcusable from Bandai's side. And admittedly, I am shocked they're even going for another rodeo here. I thought for sure, based on the reception to Season 3 and how it's become a historically trash season in anime history, I thought they would 100% just wash their hands of One Punch Man, be like, alright, well that didn't work. Seems there's no pleasing any of you. You didn't like Season 3? We spent all of $46 on it. Well, that's the best we can do. Ungrateful. Sorry, no more One Punch Man anime, I guess. Go fucking, drink toilet water for all we care. I thought they were just going to be done. I thought there was no chance. I thought they'd just bury their head in their ass, call it quits quietly, no more One Punch Man. But they immediately, after airing the final episode, have a part 2 ready to announce. I can sniff the fumes in the air that this was probably always the plan to try and milk it a bit. But I don't think they expected how poorly the first part would be received before they, really, lat spread and lock themselves into this path here. But who knows, maybe Christmas miracles do happen. This is going to sound like fanfic and a lot of like dangerous levels of hopium, but maybe Bandai learned their lesson here with part 1, where they realized that they can't just, plop out any amount of garbage and people will swallow it with a smile on their face and endlessly support it and spend money or whatever. Maybe now they'll get the message and learn that they need to actually put real time and resources into developing something meaningful. Anime is bigger than it has ever been, which means there's far less leniency from the audience to just stomach trash to this degree here, where it's like almost insulting to the human eye. There are just so many other things, they'll just go watch something else. It's not like Pokemon fans, where no matter how shitty the Pokemon game is that comes out, they'll still just play it, swallow the shit with a smile on their face. Here, people are a lot less receptive to that. They'll just go watch something else and drop this because it's just not very good. It's just a stupid decision across the board, even from a business perspective of trying to save a couple of doubloons on the bottom line by giving them no time and money to make your anime. You just stand to lose more than you could ever possibly gain there. It's just silly. Especially for something like One Punch Man, where there is only 3 seasons in the last 10 years. They haven't built up like the brainwashing like Pokemon has, and I know I've already made this point before, but I think it's an apt comparison, where people will just watch it no matter what. With One Punch Man, a ton of people dropped it because it was shitty. The only people that stuck with it are masochists and fans that just couldn't look away from the train wreck. They had to watch how their boy was being massacred here with Season 3 of a beloved IP. I'm in that group. It was a stupid decision, and hopefully this message has made it loud and clear into the minds of the Bandai executives that made the initial call to spend no money and give no time to JC staff. Hopefully with Part 2, that has really sunk in, and they are going to actually put more money and give JC staff more time so they can hopefully get back to what they were doing with Season 3's... Oh, God, good Lord. That was like poison coming out of my lips. With Season 2's level of quality. hopefully we never see anything like season 3 ever again. Holy shit. Anyway, I'll stop yapping about it. The season 3 part 1 is over. Hallelujah. That's great news. That's about it. See ya.